So something very, very interesting has actually happened very recently. That Keir Starmer is now openly seeking to hire, on behalf of the British government, an EU negotiator in part of this whole EU relations reset that he has been pursuing very successfully, by the way. Um, you cannot tell me that this reset that Starmer has pursued has not been successful. I'm sorry, it has been infinitely successful. It has shown that yes, the EU more than happy and willing to work with the UK on a number of things, when I had been told multiple times by many people in the comments that, oh, you'll be turned away, you won't be met, you'll get nice words, and that'll be it. Instead, what have we actually physically seen? We have seen countries openly welcome the UK, saying, wow, great to have, sensible people back in charge. These are people we can work with. These are people who we can do, stuff with. Oh, by the way, how about a, youth mobility scheme that every single capital in Europe has both offered to Starmer and Lammy when they've been dashing around Europe? We got the German defense UK agreement. That was pretty amazing. You also got the German ambassador saying that it is Germany's mission to keep the UK aligned as possible to the EU. I don't know. Why does Germany want to keep the UK aligned as possible to the EU? But overall, these have been sort of very, very successful and does definitely set very, very good things, I think, to come, especially as next year, of course, we are going to see the sort of the reopening and re-looking at the trade and cooperation agreement next year. So whoever Starmer hires is going to be able to, set this. And as I said before, remember, the Brexiteers are not in charge. So it's not going to be some absolute lunatic like, David Davis, or, Lord Frost, um, like past negotiators we had. And in Davis's case, turned up to a meeting without any files, folders, or even pens and pencils to write stuff down with. So whoever does get this job is, I think, going to be quite in the spotlight, and I think it is going to be very important to do this. So I think one thing definitely I would love to see the European movement doing is putting forward their own list of candidates, because if you're going to select someone to be this EU negotiator, first of all, you need someone who knows the EU. Labour have quite a few ex-MEPs. Why not get one of them? After all, ex-MEP worked with the EU, will know how the EU works. Again, possibility of who you could get. The other thing you probably want is maybe you want someone who is good at, trade negotiations, or like, these types of, in-depth between, governmental negotiations. Maybe you want someone like that. Maybe that's who you want to hire. It really doesn't almost sort of need to be a mix, I think, between all those three. Someone who has worked with the EU, someone who has, seen, it maybe worked with it from the inside. Wouldn't surprise me, of course, if this person who we end up hiring might not be from the UK. I know. The Daily Mail and the Conservatives are going to have an absolute field day if Starmer does that. But of course, they are already chiming in on this. So before we do go to have a look at what the Conservative response is and what Labour's response to this was as well, because obviously, remember, Priti Patel, Foreign Secretary now, I know. I'd honestly forgotten. I'd honestly forgotten she was shadow foreign secretary until I had seen this response, and I went, "Oh yeah, she's shadow foreign secretary now, isn't she?" Oh, so much stuff happened, mostly because of the Trump stuff that you forget, and you're like, oh yeah, our own government's kind of yeah. So yeah, but before we do go into this, please do remember to have a look at click the like, click the share button, ring the bell, hit the subscribe if you're new. The links down below. There's the Patreon page. There's the Buy Me a Coffee link where you can buy me a coffee. The YouTube thank you button. The Pony Club down below as well. You can join. So thank you very much to everyone who does help and support the channel that way. Even if you do just click the like and share button, like I say, it all helps. So we're clearly going to go over to the Guardian, and bear in mind, you can tell they are sort of serious about this post because it's the salary is 153,000 a year to over 20,000 to over 200,000. So they are seriously trying to attract big guns to this talk, really big guns to this on this. Will it who it will attract? Oh, we don't know. We'll probably find out very soon. But this is what the Conservative Party had to say about this, coming from Priti Patel. So, Shadow Foreign Secretary Priti Patel said that, quote, the Conservative Party will not stand by and allow the will of the British people to be reversed while Labour arrogantly capitulates to the EU. Someone else said from the party that this undermines Brexit and our status as a sovereign nation with its plan to take the country back into the EU. That isn't even happening. That is a fantasy that the Conservatives once again are making up, but they're trying to make hay of it. They are desperately trying to make hay of this. Eventually, I do think there will be a pushback that the Conservatives are suddenly going to find themselves. But it's going to be a while, I think, before that happens, where the Conservatives will do a 180 on Europe and on Brexit itself once I think they start to see how successful these talks go. Because if this guy who we get is successful, and let's say Starmer gets some alignment deals and whatever, and he seemed to be successfully negotiating, all of a sudden they're going to have to turn around and go, well, actually, our entire stewardship over that entire period was a complete failure. And then maybe they will wind back on the Brexit stuff. Maybe they won't be so hard line about it. And maybe you will then get some Conservatives who might come into the party and they'll say, look, Brexit has been an abject failure. It's an albatross around our party's neck. We need to completely rethink how we look at Europe. So maybe eventually it will happen one day, mark my words, but it ain't happening yet. Ain't happening yet. But when you've got people like David Gauke, who are very, very pro EU, you've got Dominic Grieve, again, very, very pro EU, with these sort of big conservative sort of figures. A lot of these very old, big conservative figures, still very influential in the party, but not as much anymore because, again, of the right shift that is gone. Eventually, they will get their comeback and they will sort of say to the party, hey, look, you need to fundamentally change your way on this. It's not there yet, but they'll get there eventually. They will. So Labour, of course, fired back, saying that this is absolutely, truly desperate stuff from the Conservatives. They said that there'll be no return to the EU, the customs union, the single market, or even freedom of movement. We are currently focused on acting on the national interest, tackling both barriers to trade, improving cooperation, and smashing the criminal smuggling people, and smashing the criminal people smuggling gangs. That was worded very weirdly. And of course, working closely with our allies to stand up to Putin's aggression. We will not take Britain back to the Tory days of chaos and division. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But whoever definitely gets selected, whoever gets this job, yeah, it's gonna have some reactions. It's gonna have some very, I think, big reactions. I said before, I would not be surprised if the person who they hire is either going to be an ex Labour MEP, or they may even hire someone who's not even from the UK. Like I say, we'll see, but they are putting a very high salary tag on this position, so they are trying to attract some big gun in some way, I think, to this position. So we'll see who they get. But make no mistake, they're the ones, and I'll tell you what, they will be infinitely better than the likes of David Davis and Lord Frost. Oh boy. Definitely massive, massive improvement. But as always, let me know what you think down below. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.